question is, are you ready? That's the question. I tell you what, I would rather be wrong and ready than right and unprepared. So for me, we need to be a bride without spot, wrinkle, or blemish. We need to be ready. And so let's go to the beginning. Let's look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. It says, God said, okay, these are God's words. When God speaks, what are we supposed to do? Listen. And so listen what he said. He said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them. Now, I don't have time to go into all of this, but it's the fact that our pagan calendar, we only follow the sun. The Muslim calendar only follows the moon. But God said, I want them. He wants the sun and the moon, and it's only the biblical calendar that we want to go by when it comes to what God is doing. We need the other calendars to relate to one another. But just, like I said, when I lived in Garden City, Kansas, people had to have 2 clocks because they lived right on the border of a time zone. You drive 1 mile, it'd be an hour later. And so when we want to know what God is doing and hear from God, we have to be on His calendar. And so, take a look at these. I have a total lunar eclipse at the top, and then a partial lunar eclipse. And then to the far right is a total solar eclipse. In the middle is what we had this last week, an annular solar eclipse, and then a partial solar eclipse. Now, when we hear about God creating the sun and the moon and the stars, He says it is for what? Science. We would think He created the sun and the moon for light and heat. That's not even number 1, 2, 3, or 4. That comes like number 5 or 6. Okay, so God said the number 1 reason why He created these things in the sky is to send us signals. Like 1 is by land, 2 is by sea. And then He said it's for seasons. And in the Hebrew, the word season there is not winter, spring, summer, fall. It refers to the Moedim, the festivals. So in other words, God created these things to send signals to us on His feast days about coming events. Look at Luke 21:25. It says, there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. Should that come as a surprise? And we just read in Genesis, that's why He created them. So if God says, I created the sun and the moon and the stars to send signals on my feast days, it should not surprise us in the last days if we see signs in the sun and the moon and the stars on His feast days. I mean, this is just simple logic. Look at Romans chapter 10, verse 17 and 18. Faith comes by what? Hearing. But we're supposed to hear what? The Word of God, not other man. He says, but I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and their words to the